Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we have a very interesting announcement from the development blog. We seem to be getting more and more of these interesting dev blogs lately. But yeah, this has to do with either a new type of attack aircraft or perhaps a new method of attacking using already existing aircraft, the skip bombers. This is interesting. So anyway, I'm going to read straight from the dev blog. Link is in the description down below. Not a very long one. But anyway, if you want to pull it up and follow along, feel free to. If not, please enjoy the mediocre Toffen gameplay. I think that's how I'm supposed to say it, or I just butchered its name yet again. Anyway, skip bombers. Please note that all information in the dev blog is preliminary and subject to change during testing. Any showcase features may or may not end up on the main server. The final information will be published on our game's website. In the near future, a type of aircraft carrier squadron's skip bombers will be tested. Please note that if this concept is successfully tested, detailed information on its application will be announced later. The squadrons tested will be equipped with HE bombs. The peculiarities of these bombers will be a new type of attack, which in reality was used during World War II. The planes can descend to a low altitude to drop their bombs. The bombs themselves can make several bounces on the surface of the water before hitting the target. Specifics of skip bombers. Skip bombers do not need to fly close to the ship to perform an attack, which reduces the time spent in the ship's AA defense zone. The planes are more vulnerable to AA defense fire during and after an attack than other bombers. Bombs, when they bounce, can fly over small ships. Because of the bomb's trajectory, there is a high probability of it impacting on the target ship's armor belt, which often results in no damage. No penetration. Therefore, it is necessary to accurately aim it at the vulnerable parts of the ship. An attack can take two forms, depending on the height at which the bomb is dropped. When dropping from a high altitude, the bomb detonates immediately. When dropped from a low altitude, the bomb bounces off the water surface. So then they link to a YouTube video, which is actually unlisted, but it is on the Warships channel, and there's no sound or anything on it. I'll play it right here for you guys. It's actually from the Voss, the other Tier 10. Oh, look at that thing go! The other Tier 10 German aircraft carrier. So it's interesting to say the least, especially after watching the video. It's strange, in my opinion, honestly. And yes, this was actually used during World War II, believe it or not. At first, when I read this, my mind went straight to the Dam Busters that the British developed. That's the only mentioning of a bouncing bomb I used to hear, especially back in the day when I would watch the History Channel all the time. Back before it was just Pawn Stars and Ancient Aliens, I would go home and watch the World War II documentaries that were on the History Channel. And there were many back in the day. And I do remember the bouncing bombs from the Dam Busters. Now, this isn't that. This is actually a method that was used mostly in the Atlantic, apparently, by the U.S. Navy. So, it did exist in real life. And it was a method that was used. And in real life, it was actually pretty darn effective from what my research has shown. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be a new type of plane group that's going to be assigned to whatever carrier gets this, or if it's going to be a method of attack. Like you get to choose between skip bombing or just normal dive bombing, which it kind of sounds like that in the dev blog, but then in the clip it doesn't look like there's any button to push to switch between skip bombing and dive bombing. And in fact, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see that instead of having torpedo bombers, this Voss actually has a different icon, which I'm guessing that's the skip bombing icon all the way on the right. So it's like they're kind of taking the place of the torpedo bombers in this case. So yeah, wow. It adds more complexity to the game because, you know, this is a pretty out there mechanic, like for out there mechanic, and I'm not against them adding this in the future at all. I mean, it's more stuff for the game, more content, more variation in CV gameplay, which is good. And skip bombing in real life was actually pretty dangerous than they are modeling this here in the game as well, because the planes had to fly at such a low altitude and in a perfectly straight line to line up the shots that they got tore up by AA. So sure, while these planes may be able to drop this payload further back out, they are going to spend quite some time in the ship's AA bubble because they are flying so low when they return to their higher altitude. They're going to get ate up pretty good, and in real life, it was only really successfully carried out by medium and heavy bombers. Believe it or not, the U.S. Air Force, well, not Air Force, Army Air Force in World War II did this with B-17s flying at ship level above the water with B-17s, skip bombing. There's some Chad stuff right there. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting. I had a good read of this afterwards. But as far as being added into the game, again, I'm not against, more variation in CV gameplay being added into the game. But, again, like with a couple of things that we've seen in the past, this isn't really what the game needs right now. And granted, they are just announcing that they're testing this. It's not like, hey, this is coming out in the next patch. It's just a test. So, that's fine. But it would be nice to hear more about AA. Are there some more mechanics coming out? Some new mechanics that we haven't seen before? We did get a look at the Commander rework, which looks like you will be able to get a bit beefier AA out of it. For example, Adrenaline Rush is now applied to AA. You get more damage the lower your health is. That's an interesting concept. But AA is probably the biggest issue in the game right now. There's just such a contrast on either end of the spectrum of AA, and there's barely anything in the middle. It's either your AA is so good that you can't be touched, or it's so bad that it feels like you do nothing. And there's also the issue of when you boil it down, you literally have to chew through an entire squadron if you want to mitigate the damage coming at you. Because the way it currently works is, well, sure, there's 12 planes in this Richthofen dive bomber squadron, and there's 3 in an attack run. Sure, you shoot down 3, but 3 more from the other 12 are just going to come and take its place. And yeah, if you do chew through the entire squadron, that's going to hurt the CV player a bit, but their planes do regenerate, and a decent CV player can make his planes last until the very end of the match. This match you're watching right now went full 20 minutes, and I was still launching half-full squadrons by the end of it. I'm not going to lie, I did make quite a few mistakes here and there, but I'm still launching planes by the end of the match, and a good CV player can manage to hold on to his planes for much, much, much longer than a mediocre one like myself can. So there's certainly that issue, and I do think a lot of people would prefer to hear about some AA changes rather than, well, this right now. I mean, and again, it's kind of giving into that feeling or notion that wargaming is giving CVs a special treatment, whereas surface ships are kind of, if you do look at it, there's plenty of basis for that argument, because, CVs get their consumables popped for them. CV's fires only burn for 5 seconds. I know people say it burns for more, it's a more intense burn for 5 seconds. Yeah, but it doesn't do near the amount of damage that a full fire on a normal ship does. Now with the AA changes that they they proposed, where they got rid of AA traps, the CVs now get warning shots fired at them by the surface ships. The flak's going to pop above and below the squadron, so the CV knows they're flying into AA, when they already get a bright yellow notification on their screen that you're flying into AA. Yeah. It's like a captain perk or anything that's just there by default. So, when you look at it that way, it's easy to see why people are thinking this. Granted, CV's got a lot of work to do on their hands, I know, and you do get blamed for everything, and your karma does go down if you so much as touch a CV and bring it into a match. Trust me, I think I lost like 3 or 4 karma recording the 2 matches that I did when I was trying to record some somewhat decent CV footage. So I know that there's certainly a hatred toward CV players. Me, I just have an issue with the mechanics. Players themselves, I don't have an issue with. It is a shame that some people can't differentiate between the CV player and the mechanics that, you know, are just in the game and they are what they are. There's nothing the CV player can do about that, and they're not responsible for that, but that's just kind of the state of mind. And yeah, I don't agree with that state of mind, but there are some issues that need to be fixed involving carriers and surface ships interacting. But now that I've destroyed the comment section, so that's what I think about this situation. The attack looks pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. It'll be interesting to see how far this makes it, or if this is just going to be one of those things that get tested and doesn't really go anywhere, kind of like the breakable icebergs that were shown off some time ago, or the convoys mode, or Republic's rotating smokestack. Yes, that was a thing, but it didn't make it into the base game. I have a feeling that it's probably going to be one of those things that we just hear about once or twice and never really sees the light of day again, because there's plenty of that from the development of this game. But that's what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to 20,000 subs. We just passed 16,700, which is awesome, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday, and I hope to catch you guys in the next one.